project management career, you get a lot of advice about how to do the work breakdown structure. And that's real important because you'll do one on every project you ever manage. Unfortunately, most of the advice is bad. And what is really crippling is people who give you advice and their favorite work breakdown structure that they use for a lot of different projects because it's a real strong one. Well, that's the kiss of death. You might as well sign on to be iceberg lookout of the Titanic if you go ahead and take one of those. The work breakdown structure is not a to-do list. It's not a list of everything on the project, so we shouldn't try to make it any of those things. Let's talk about the common practice first. The common practice with work breakdown structures is a disaster, and it's one of the reasons 70% of the projects done in organizations fail. You'll hear these things about doing the WBS. We want to list everything that everybody has to do because that means that no one will forget to do anything. Boy, that sounds good. We want to have a really detailed work breakdown structure, people will tell you, because that gives us tight control. The answer there is it gives you no control. So the common practice with work breakdown structures is to craft long to-do lists that take about 2 seconds of thought. And we're listing hundreds of things people should do. The work breakdown structure is monstrous. The schedule is monstrous. And some project managers convince themselves they're really set for project success. But the consequences will tell you a very different story. What are the consequences of those monstrous to-do lists as a work breakdown structure? Well, the first one is, by about the 3rd week of the project after it starts, project manager can't keep up with all the changes to those hundreds or even thousands of to-do list items that were crafted because it's so micro, everything changes. So they don't keep up with it, and after 3 weeks, there is no schedule for people to follow because all of the tasks have changed. They're not doing what was originally planned and shouldn't be doing it because things are a little bit different. The sequence is different. They've encountered changes that cause them to do their work differently. The other consequence of it is it's impossible to get good estimates for all of those little micro tasks. One, it takes too long to use any acceptable professional sort of estimating techniques. You have too many little micro tasks. Why spend 15 minutes trying to estimate a task that will take 15 minutes? So we have no estimates, which means our completion date is a fantasy. No one is committed to anything but the project manager, and very early in the process we have no schedule to follow because it is hopelessly out of date, because the project manager simply doesn't have time to maintain it. And that's what leads to disaster with these projects. Instead of tight control that everybody was talking about, you have no control because no one feels accountable for anything, and no one has an estimate that they have some accountability for. It's just a monstrous list that people are laughing about by the 2nd week of the project. Obviously, this is all to be avoided. Let's talk about the best practices next. The best practice in project management is that your work breakdown structure is a relatively small list of deliverables that are exquisitely crafted. And by that I mean we spend a lot of time to define exactly what we want from the task or activity and how the person will have their work judged. That's all in the work breakdown structure. So we're making assignments, not teach the training class. We're making assignments like 98% of the attendees at the training class can enter a billing entry accurately in less than 15 seconds. That's a measured outcome from the training class, isn't it? Notice we're not trying to tell the trainer everything he or she has to do. We're just telling them what we have to have as an end result, what they are supposed to deliver. Good work breakdown structure is deliverables oriented, not activity. And we have measured acceptance criteria, if you will, for every entry. And it's small enough. Usually, a work breakdown entry should be something between 3 and 10 days of work for a person. Now, not everything can be in that range.